sporting celebrity endorsement is the last refuge of the desperate car maker, I suppose, especially cursed by head office with some ute that will not sell due to being A, clubbed with one of the biggest ugly sticks ever in existence, and B, objectively outclassed by trusted entrants with their entrenched tribal followings and exciting new Chinese plug-in hybrids that go, frankly, like cut snakes. In the face of objective reality, which is often so unforgiving in this regard, it probably makes sense to do the whole sporting celebrity thing again. Only this time in a fake national park next to a fake town to conduct a fake rescue of a real horse that just made a fake escape. It's actually one of the most beautifully shot, utterly crap ads which I've ever seen. In other news, it's only 5 more months of this seemingly nauseating burlesque show before they can just launch the Tasman and we can all watch it sink without a trace. I'm Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au. New cars cheap as usual, but Australia only, dude, come on. Website. Go! If you're a car maker and you develop a vehicle which objectively outclasses the competition in some ways, it's actually pretty easy to sell that vehicle. You just tell people what your vehicle does better. In the language of marketing masturbation, those things are called unique selling propositions. They give vehicle buyers like you a reason to change, to buy a particular vehicle. It's a pretty simple concept, right? You might buy your next ute because it has 300 kilowatts and or a testicle warming or cooling pad on the driver's seat. Unfortunately for Kia, though, they're a decade late to the ute market, aren't they? And everyone else has already taken sides, and the vehicle they're about to deploy just does not measure up objectively. Details on that and that beautifully shot but fundamentally crap ad next. Olight's March sale is on now with an outstanding new entrant heading their lineup. The Javelot Turbo 2 is the ultimate search and rescue flashlight, which is able to throw a concentrated beam up to 1,500 metres down the track in turbo mode. It comes with a tail switch and a barrel switch and a wireless remote. Plus, you get 2 recharging options, USB-C and magnetic. You can also mount it to a rifle with Olight's magnetic weapons mount accessory kit. It's got a massive 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and the beam is a central hotspot surrounded by a circle of more diffused spill to get you kind of in the ballpark. The Javelot Turbo 2 is $60 off until midnight on Thursday the 6th. My favourite light for the car in the workshop, the swivel, is also on sale now, under $40. It's a torch and a work light, and it's got a magnetic base which swivels and doubles as a carabiner, so you can stick it on anything ferromagnetic or just sit it on the floor or hang it from just about anything and adjust the beam to get it anywhere you want, leaving both hands free to do whatever. And finally, the O-Clip Pro, kind of like the swivel, but you wear it. It's great for walking at night and also quite useful for changing your tyre and doing other jobs in the boonies in the middle of the night. It comes with a spotlight and floodlight mode as well as a red light mode for preserving your night vision, plus beacon and red blink modes for emergencies. You can clip it practically anywhere on a backpack or your clothing kind of thing. It's under $50 right now and you will not notice it sitting there in your pocket or hanging off your gear. Links in the description. The sale wraps up at midnight on Thursday, the 6th of March, 2025. Anno Domini, Spiritus Sancti, whatever. So don't dilly-dally, dude. Olights are great. I use my Warrior Mini 2 every day, and despite my best efforts, just like Captain Pete Mitchell and me, I suppose, it refuses to die. Like, boom, totally reliable, dude. And now, back to me, trash-talking the Kia Tasman and the second coming of its rubbish sporting celebrity endorsement. The Kia Tasman is roughly the same size as every other dual cab ute. It's got roughly the same payload and same tow capacity, and although it offers full-time 4x4 with low range, like the Triton and the V6 Ranger, the engine really doesn't measure up, and that's kind of critically important, I would argue. It's the old 2.2 diesel from Hyundai Kia, just repurposed in a ute. And what you really need to pay attention to there is the peak torque number, because that's what you've got available when you actually drive normally. Because it's actually quite hard and quite rare to exploit peak power, especially in a ute, except maybe, I don't know, briefly and on a drag strip or similar. 440 Newton meters is the peak torque for the Tasman, and this is a kind of proxy for mid-range power at any particular normal driving revs. So 440 Newton meters. And that means the Tasman is objectively outclassed by both Ranger powertrains, both Hilux engine specs, the D-Max and the equivalent She-Max from Mazda, but only just in the case of those two. The Triton beats it substantially, however, and the Navara beats it as well, but again, only just. The Amarok and even the LDV T60 are also comfortably in front of the Tasman. Every one of these established utes goes better than a Tasman at normal driving revs. There's absolutely no getting around that, and I generally like Kia's work, but they've dropped the ball on this vehicle. Unfortunately, the Tasman really only beats the Musso and the GWM combustion ute on mid-range power. You have to ask yourself, is that really where you would aim in an ideal world? No, it's not. And I would argue that this is a critical design deficiency, perhaps the most critical design deficiency in a ute, and the responsibility for that falls fairly at the feet of Kia's shot-calling bean counters, who declined to give the Tasman some sort of engine which it probably deserved. The Tasman is also ugly, dude, and I know that's kind of ontologically subjective, but on the balance of probability, I have not heard anyone outside of Kia claim to be smitten by Tasman's aesthetics. Quite the opposite. It's like Robbie the Robot had it off with a Smeg refrigerator. And aesthetics is vitally important in utes. Men will say, no, but yeah. Like, just look at the Ranger, dude. It is a total tool magnet aesthetically. And if you're a total tool, that's why you want one. It's just love at first sight. Imagine rocking up to a building site in a Kia Tasman, parking between all of the Rangers and the Hilux, just squeezing one in there. How long do you suppose your endless roasting would last? Same thing down the pub on a Friday night, dude. Tasman is uglier than an LDV T60 full of arseholes. And I guess that's an achievement of sorts, raising the bar there, only not in an ideal way. And you know what? If the Tasman were ugly, but that ugliness was linked to underlying design brilliance and outstanding ute innovation, design masterstrokes, delivering capabilities and features you've never before seen in a ute, but which suddenly you want, I'd be quite okay with that. It's got competitive tow capacity and a nice interior, and I'm sure it's going to ride and handle okay, so great. But I would argue that these things are insufficient because in many ways, Tasman is also kind of a step backwards, or stupidity dressed up as cleverness. And I'm going to give you an example of each one of those things so you know I'm not just talking out of my arse. Putting the headlights where they're going to get cleaned up on every gnarly bush track is emblematic of A, ugliness just for its own sake, and B, every engineer and designer involved in the project being abjectly disengaged from the reality of severe off-road track driving. This is disgraceful, and so is putting a glorified second glove box on top of the rear wheel arch. Like, so fucking clever, dude. Putting the hatch on the side so that everything can fall out cleverly after being shaken all over on some endless shitbox corrugated Australian dirt road. Just brilliant. Hinging it at the bottom without being asked to make the hatch double up as a step so you could get to your racks or your rooftop tent or something. But at the same time making it awesome at collecting water in the rain so you can saturate the inside of the compartment when you slam it shut hastily during some freaking cloudburst out there. This is what objectively shit design looks like. Then you've got these new competitors like the BYD Shark 6, a 300 kilowatt plug-in hybrid for about 60 grand with 80 k's of real world range in EV mode, which will also power a freaking rock concert while you camp, or charge endless power tool batteries on site while you work, or run your house for several days during a power failure. BYD Australia took 2,000 Shark 6 orders in the first 24 hours back in October, causing the locals to scurry back to their overlords in China and beg for a further 2,000 Shark 6s. 4,000 pre-orders was the total at the end of the first month, and 6,000 by January the 15th this year. BYD so bullish now about selling 15,000 Shark 6s in 2025. And if they do, it's going to be the number 4 4x4 ute in the country. The only thing that can conceivably upend BYD's apple cart here is the imminent GWM Cannon Alpha plug-in hybrid, which is just as powerful, right? But it also has 25% more battery and a proper 4x4 powertrain with low range and a diff lock. So there's that. In this landscape, with the mature entrants outclassing it and the new entrants offering incredible performance and a real philosophical alternative in the same form factor, the Tasman is cursed to be a backmarker at best. So instead of talking about the vehicle itself, they've just blown megabucks on a brilliantly shot but terrible Man from Snowy River's Arse reboot. Set in a fictional outback shithole called, predictably, Tasman Town, of course. Specifically set in Cafe Tasman, which is next to Tasman Post. Creative genius all round there, clearly. There's a sidebar in the fake Tasman Times newspaper in fake Cafe Tasman about a fake koala named Cookie at the fake Tasman Zoo. Cookie allegedly predicts the cricket and has also just spat out a joey, coincidentally, so yay. The crux of this Walkley Award-winning fake Cookie Koala sidebar in the fake Tasman Times concerns community expectations that Cookie's cricket clairvoyance be passed on to Cookie Jr. I couldn't make such export-grade bullshit up, dude. You can confirm all of this by appropriately pausing the official video, which I will link to on Kia Shitsville's YouTube channel. I do sincerely hope the agency responsible for all of this commissioned the intern to eat a bowl of very special mushrooms and concoct this world championship grade fake news horse shit. And of course then charge Kia handsomely for it. And if they did all of that, well done. At least it's not set in a pub this time. Maybe that's why I couldn't see Australia's sporting ambassador for binge drinking, David Boone, in this all-important sequel. He was in the first one, dude, in the pub. I'd love to know the backstory there. At least Australia's sporting ambassador for high-range drink driving, Alan Langer, is back for the sequel. Not with a speaking role, sadly. A mute short-order cook this time, wearing his best T-shirt. Doubtless, in my mind's eye at least, frying up some good old-fashioned shit sandwiches for his sporting mates.
Did you leave the gate open again?
However, I did like Alan Langer a lot better in his unforgettable debut role, that 2015 documentary of which the name I forget momentarily. Pissed Idiot Behind the Wheel or some such, I think it might have been called. Don't quote me on that. You know the one, however, where he's stripped down to his jocks in that pub. The better to dance so entertainingly up on the table as recorded just there in an unofficial video, aged 43. And then, after, quote, 8 to 10 pots of 4X and a couple of Red Bull and vodkas, end quotes, he thought it was just a grand idea to attempt to drive well over 100 k's home from Brisbane to the Gold Coast, before thankfully, for society's sake, being stopped and arrested with an alleged blood alcohol concentration of 0.156, which, as you have no doubt computed, is more than 3 times the legal frickin' driving limit. This is the thing about elite performers. They always excel, right? Mr. Langer later put on some clothes, of course, and pleaded guilty to all of this in court. He was fined $1,000 and disqualified from driving for 8 months, but the magistrate declined to record a conviction. The Broncos reinstated him as a skills coach on the very next day, so yay. I think history is pretty clear on this. Like, you can be any kind of scumbag, speaking generally, and not at all specifically referencing Mr. Langer's conduct at all, but you can be any kind of scumbag, and provided you're a dead-set sporting legend in Australia, you can get away with essentially blue fucking murder. Mr. Langer did lose a lucrative sponsorship deal with Lion Nathan as a result. Presumably the high-profile brewer didn't want to be associated with a high-range drink-driving muppet. And by that I mean someone who has pleaded guilty to that offence in court, and in my view, of course, if you drink drive at 3 times the limit especially, you are a dead-set muppet. I've got nothing against Mr. Langer. He pleaded guilty, he didn't obfuscate. He was punished, he paid his debt. I've just got a problem with him being seen to be promoting a car, given his previous vehicular conduct. It's kind of a bad look in my view, like disgracefully so. If I were in charge of fucking Venn diagrams, drink driving and promoting new cars would never be allowed to overlap. But hey, Kia's okay with it, seemingly, having cast him as a de facto Tasman ambassador twice, once in a pub. Well done there. Not a good way, I would argue, to A, dis-endorse drink driving, or B, to sell vehicles to anyone who's ever had their lives or the life of a loved one upended by a drink driving scumbag. Seems to me like Kia's $5 million 5-year sponsorship deal with the Broncos trumps society's best interests on this one. Or maybe they just look really, really hard for a rugby league player who was a decent societal role model, and they just couldn't find one. Anyway, Alexander Volkanovski is the fake Tasman town's fake horse rescuing hero, and I'm not going to jump into the ring against him for kind of obvious reasons, because I don't want to wake up in intensive care with a tube down my freaking throat. And I don't think that would take very long at all, really. I'm not alleging Mr. Volkanovski would do that. It's just that I wouldn't be brave enough to get into the ring with him because, you know, cognition. In the fake ad, inside the non-existent Tasman Town National Park, he does some truly epic redneck shouting, driving through trees at the breakneck speed of, it looks like, probably 40 or perhaps even 50 k's an hour on the smoothest and least challenging dirt road ever. Let's go, yeah! Trees that, interestingly, don't actually exist on the ridge on which he's not actually racing to rescue that rogue pony. That's the magic of Hollywood right there. Let's go, yeah! Kia also depicts a second Tasman towing an empty horse float. Imagine that.
Yes, I have a horse float.
The edges of no envelopes were challenged in the production of this ad. The MMA champ predictably bails up the rogue horse in his Tasman. Unfortunately, at this point, Mr. Volkanovski's nuts shrivel up to the size of pinheads.
Nah.
Then, as often happens in the outback, a jockey with a unique skill set and bigger nuts in the moment than Mr. Volkanovski apparently appears just out of nowhere, just minding his own beeswax, carrying his little cup through the busted ass scrub. This is all in the middle of the day, okay?
You blokes need a hand? Hold this.
Just another day in the fake outback, right? Then they all wait around, presumably for several hours, for a hackneyed sunset hero shot at the end.
Kia, movement that inspires.
And imagine the glamour of it, the endless wait, just sitting there on your ass in the scrub waiting for the sun to descend and be just Goldilocks over the mountain range or something. I do hope they packed a large esky just jammed full of Mr. Langer's excellent shit sandwiches. Great Dane on sourdough with wasabi mayo. My personal favourite. I've been a corporate consultant, dude, so I've eaten a ton of shit sandwiches. And that one, it's the best. Hopefully they managed to wash it all down with a lazy case of 4X and a couple of Red Bulls and vodka just for the sake of old times, eh? And dude, it's all on private property, so no biggie. And in any case, what happens in Tasman Town National Park stays in Tasman Town National Park, I'd suggest. If I'd been the director, I would have found a way to commission Ivan fucking Milat for some role in this awesome production, because he was kind of a champion, now that I think about it, in the narrowest possible definition of that term. And look, I'm not actually alleging that any particular shit sandwich or beverage was consumed on location out there. I'm just writing a screenplay for the dramatisation in my head in real time, because this deserves a third crack, certainly. If I was going to do a celebrity Tasman promo, we'd all be off our trees for at least a week before we took a single shot, and Ivan Milat would be in it, dude. Fuck it. In reality, I love the Tasman Sporting Celebrity Vacuous Outback reboot. It's beautifully shot, shallow horseshit, showcasing not one single reason to buy a Kia Tasman. Mainly, I suppose, because there isn't one. But it's beautifully shot. Like that high-speed lateral trucking shot through the trees that weren't actually there, setting up Mr. Volkanovski's redneck yee-haw moment. Let's go, yeah! Awesome work, dudes. It's less than 2 seconds, that shot, but it's going to linger in my mind for one lap of the fishbowl at least, dude. It's just a pity that the Tasman is unremarkable in every way that really matters, but at the same time, so poorly executed on fundamentals. I really can't see a reason to endure owning one, unless, of course, they gut the price. Like, that might work. So let me know in the comments if you're really going to wait 5 frickin' months to buy a Tasman. Has Kia given you that secret reason to tear yourself away from a Ranger or a Hilux or the new 300 kilowatt upstart Chinese plug-ins? Please let me know, because, dude, I haven't seen it.